Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Force for Growth Live. I'm Ricardo.
I'm
I'm
Courtney.
And I'm Michelle.
We're a little bit out of order today, so it's okay. Guys, today's a big one. So make sure you like and share this video. And if you share and use hashtag Force for Growth, you can win a copy of the hardcover Think and Grow Rich or the big book, The Medical Medium Cleanse to Heal. Remember to like and share this episode with the hashtag Force for Growth to enter to win one of these two amazing books. Who do we have today, Michelle?
I am so excited to announce we have Dave Elliott, relationship coach. And when it comes to relationship transformation, Dave Elliott is a noted expert, author, international speaker, and an accomplished coach who gets results for his clients all over the world. He's especially gifted at teaching smart, amazing women how to bring out the very best in men rather than suffering through their worst. So I'm excited to talk to Dave. Whether he's sharing his expertise in books or products or on some of today's most widely read relationship websites or TV, audio, or a radio or stage, you'll come away with the new awareness, skills, and strategies to get the breakthrough results you really want and need. So listen up, ladies. He's going to bring us some gold. Welcome, Dave.
I'll add real quick that Dave is just an all-around good guy. He's just good people. He's just good people doing good work for the right reasons. Hi, Dave.
Hey, good morning, Dave.
Good morning,
Happy
everybody.
Friday.
Thank you so much. Great to be here. Wow, this is awesome.
We're so excited to have you.
We're so excited to have you, Dave. How's it going? How are you?
Man, I'm doing really great. Thank you so much. I'm really, really blessed. This show is awesome. This is fantastic what you're doing. I love it. All these cheerful faces and sharing great information and great books and stuff. I love it. So thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
We're so excited to have you here. So I think the number one question here is, what have you seen in the relationship front over the last 6 months?
Oh, there's not much happening. It's kind of uneventful and not many things have changed at all. It's kind of just business as usual. It's been a challenging time. COVID started about 6 months ago, I guess now. And so people were kind of changed a lot of things for a lot of people. They were homebound for several months there for a period of time. Some people had jobs that changed very much and trying to do them from home, maybe with kids or spouses and competing spaces. Some people haven't been able to replicate what they did, because they worked with the public. So it's been a challenging time. It's been a time where people are grappling with changes that we haven't seen in 100 years. So people don't know what to do with this, and it's all new. So that creates some pressure, as you might understand or you might expect. So it's actually been, I've had a bit of an uptick in what I do, just supporting people and just being there for them, because like you said, it's uncharted territory. So I just want to support people and help them kind of find their way. At the same time, I think in any period of challenge, there's also periods of opportunities too. I think that's the beauty of it too. I think couples can get closer. They can reinvent themselves. They can have more time to heal old wounds. They can figure out, what's getting in the way. It creates new attention too. So I think everything comes to serve, good, the good stuff and the challenging stuff too. So that's kind of an important aspect of it as well.
That's what I wanted to ask you, was also, what are the word you use, opportunities, but what in our word of the week is observed? So I'll throw that in there. What have you observed in the kind of unpolished gems, or are folks confronting these issues or their communications problems? Are they growing through them more? So how does the good side of that look too with the challenging side?
Well, the unfair answer is that if they're talking to me, they're definitely confronting them. So, so that's a good sign. I can only speak to those. So yeah, those people are definitely taking that opportunity. And when it first started happening, I got on Zoom and I was just doing random check-ins on Facebook. I'd say, hey, who's around? I just want to check in. and I had some really great conversations, and people obviously were in a place where a lot of uncertainty. And I think in a situation like this, I think the isolation is probably one of the biggest challenges, right? People, when you're kind of trapped in your own thoughts, like if you live alone and you're only got your own fears and maybe the stuff that's coming in on the news, you start to ruminate in the same ideas, and it's not exactly effective to get you into a good place when the news is broadcasting 24/7 on this challenging stuff. You start to get pulled into it. And I think the beauty of your show and what we do and how we all met is the fact that we kind of stand guardian at the gates of our own minds, right? We decide what's going to get in, we decide what we're going to do with that information, and we find the empowering meaning. There's always an empowering meaning in every sort of maybe disempowering situation. You can decide, what does this really mean, or where is the opportunity? So I think there's always something. I think not everyone is necessarily trained or supported in the quest to ask that question and figure out what it is, and isolate it and then take action and move toward it. So it's a great question. Thanks.
For those of you just tuning in, we are here with relationship coach Dave Elliott. You can learn more about Dave by visiting his website, legendaryloveforlife.com. And we're getting to know him. And feel free to comment below with any questions you have for Dave. We'll be more than happy to take some questions live. And remember to like and share this video for your chance to win Think and Grow Rich, or The Medical Medium, which is a big old book that I have down here. And use hashtag Force for Growth.
Yes. And speaking of books, your book is amazing, Dave. It's called Same Shit, Different Date. And I think that deserves a pause. But especially yes, you did hear that right. There's a particular exercise in there that just changed a lot for me. But I don't want to spoil it because I think everybody should just get the book. But will you tell us a little bit about your book and maybe what you've learned since you released it? It's been on this mission for a while.
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love this book, and I'm really proud of it. And I've heard a lot of great things that have shifted for people, because it basically, the premise of the book, comes from the saying, same stuff, different day. Well, I turned it into the dating world, and basically what I illustrate for people who maybe are too close to the problem to see it is that the one thing that you have in common with every single person that you've ever chosen to have a relationship with is you, the person who chose them. These people don't know one another. They don't know anything about one another. You are the one common denominator. And as such, there's something in it. And so the point that I make in the book is that we choose the people we have relationships with because we have unresolved wounds or issues or blind spots that we don't see. And that's literally what your choice of relationship partners brings to you. So it's not an accident. It's not happenstance. It's not, dumb luck. There is something in it for every single person you have a relationship with. There's something in it. And your job is to figure out what it is. And your job is also, the reason we replicate it again and again and again is that the idea is not to suffer again and again and again. The idea is to learn from it and do something differently. So if you learn from it and do something different, you'll be on the other side of it. You'll learn from it, you'll heal it, and you won't need the lesson anymore. But people, that's such a strange concept if you're not familiar with it. So for instance, if you say you date a bunch of different people, or you're in relationships with different people, even marry them for sometimes decades, and then you realize it's like the same issues keep popping up. You feel, there's issues with rejection or abandonment, or not feeling enough, or just all kinds of different things. They'll revisit again and again, different scenarios, different people, same issues. So that's why I think it's really a powerful book. It kind of takes what's invisible, makes it visible, and then it gives you a methodology to solve it and heal it, and not just take on the belief that, man, there must be something wrong with me. I just, like someone said to me just yesterday, my picker is broken. No, your picker isn't broken. Your picker is spot on. You just don't know you don't know the criteria you're picking on. And so I think that's really powerful when you start to understand it for the very first time, and you stop to You stop telling yourself the story that, you know, you're just not smart enough or not good enough, or no one's going to love you, or whatever the story is. Because, you know, if you can imagine, you know, if you've had a number of different relationships and all of them have maybe gone badly, or you feel like they've gone badly, most importantly, you start to tell yourself that, wow, maybe, you know, men can't be trusted, or women can't be trusted, or whoever. You make up a story about that, and then we operate on that story. So it's sort of self-defeating. It gets in the way. So
Do you have any tips for our audience so I know these stories that we tell ourselves, sometimes we don't really even realize we're telling ourselves these stories, right? We don't know. We just, like you said, think our picker's broken, but really there's these stories. Do you have any tips for how to identify the stories that are causing these trends that we have in our lives?
yeah, I do. In fact, I have some great examples. I was literally just listening to a brand new podcast that I put up live. I'm basically taking this book and I'm doing sessions with people. And the podcast is called Why Haven't I Found Love Yet? And so I'm choosing people with very, very different issues, very different challenges. And I'm just kind of doing this like little intervention session with them. And I'm just having a conversation with them. Tell me about your background, you know, tell me about your story, tell me about the things that you're experiencing, and tell me about your beliefs. And like, so I was literally just listening to one that went live this morning. So for instance, you know, there was the woman I was speaking with in that one was very, very successful at work. She was one of the only successful women at a whole large team of men interacting with men. The only place where she knew her power was at work, but at home she did not. Her number one need was certainty. It was coming up again and again at work, which is what drove her to be very, very successful, make more money than anyone in her family, be really, really respected and appreciated at her company. But at home, not so much. She had a totally different belief. So I started to go in each one. I'm looking at different things, you know, based on the stories, because, you know, I'm hoping that people will come away with, you know, they'll have that feeling like, oh, is he talking to her or is he talking to me? Because I do that too. So yeah, that's a great way to kind of listen to it. And also I'm hoping that in the podcast, people will not only learn and ask the questions of themselves and get huge epiphanies for themselves, huge breakthroughs, but then also, you know, kind of appreciate it, like listening to these women that I'm interviewing and just chatting with. And in about an hour, basically, new distinctions become crystal clear, and they realize, like, oh my God, if I keep doing it this way, that's a problem that I'm going to keep having again and again and again with all different people. And that's really the topic of the book. It's like you are co-creating every situation. And it's what you're bringing to it. You know, in her case, she had a belief. Like, again, I was just listening to it, you know, because it just went live, and I'm listening to it again because I created it, you know, a month or two ago, and so it's fresh in mind. But her belief was she saw some internet meme and repeated it to me as if it was true, and I hadn't seen it. And the meme was you can't have a relationship, have a career, and a clean house too. One of them has to give. And I thought, no, I haven't heard that, and I don't believe that. You know, I don't think that's true at all. I think you can find a way to have all those things. The first thing you have to do is figure out that that's not true. You know, it's kind of funny, it's kind of clever, maybe, but you know, I would file that under, you know, stuff messy people say, or stuff people in bad relationships say, or stuff that, you know, who are people who are not succeeding in their career say. You know, it's going to give somebody cover for why their life is the way it is, you know, essentially, you know, and so it gives you an excuse for why you're not succeeding or feeling good in a given area. But if we take that on, and, you know, even if you think it's funny, like there's a cost to that, you know, so I just challenge that kind of stuff. I don't think that's true.
So
I think
good,
it's costly.
Dave.
Thank you.
So good. And the podcast is, hold on, let me take that down. The podcast is right here. The Relationship Breakthrough Podcast with Dave Elliott. It's on all the platforms, Apple and all your favorite platforms. And for more information on that, you can go visit his website. legendaryforlove.com. Legendaryloveforlife.com.
Yeah,
That
that's it.
that should just roll off my tongue, but for some reason it doesn't.
We'll work on it.
Yes.
We'll have to have
We'll
you on more often so I can practice it more.
We
That
will.
sounds good. I'd love to. This is a great way to start off a Friday morning.
It is. So what else is going on, Dave? Like, what are some of the bigger things that you can tell the ladies out there to be empowered, not just in the relationship, but in work?
I would say, again, the issue that again is top of mind because I literally just listened to that episode is, the whole concept of know your value and show your value, and finding your voice. Like, for instance, this lady that I'm speaking about in this recent episode, she found her voice in a boardroom, but she didn't have it in her living room. Right? She wasn't able to ask for what she wanted. She wasn't able to, believe that she could have it all. And so, in her case, she would basically, sabotage her relationship because she felt like it was a competition. And since she couldn't have it all, and her husband actually felt, third on he felt like he wasn't valued. So predictably, he had a problem with that and didn't like it. And so he would sometimes sabotage. And she told a story about, she just had a really great success at work and they were out to dinner and celebrating it. And he asked the question, well, what could you have done better? And she was just defeated and hurt, and it's not a terrible question, but it was ill-timed for sure. And, she just felt unsupported. She felt like he wasn't there for her. And I think he felt minimalized, like he wasn't important, so, it's one of those things where we kind of sometimes set up these, power dynamics. And so it was a power struggle, essentially. He didn't want to be forgotten. He didn't want to feel unimportant. He probably thought he was just making conversation, but she kind of took it personally and was upset.
Do you think he was trying to connect with her, or do you think he was trying to make himself significant?
I'm not sure which one. I think both is the short answer. I think he was trying to do both. I think he routinely felt like he was unimportant. I think she made more money than him at that time. And I think, because that was her main driver, that's where she derived her importance and self-value. I think he felt less than because of it. So I think it was a kind of a clever way to kind of chip away at some of that value a little bit and get attention. Well, I guess clever is in the eye of the beholder. I don't think he would probably necessarily understand he was doing it or realize he was doing it. But I think there was a total power dynamic there. And I think he was trying to chip away at some of her success so he didn't have to feel less successful.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there when it comes to the relationships, that we don't realize what we're saying and the way that the other person is receiving it.
Exactly right. I mean, and they did everything right. She did the hard work. She got she did the work. They organized the dinner. They showed up for dinner. They were there to celebrate. They had the right intent. And with even all that right intent, somebody says one dumb thing and right away it's up to the races, on a fight, and someone feels unappreciated, someone feels disrespected, someone feels not valued. And it's one of those things where it kind of spirals out of control, and it could have been a beautiful evening, could have been a wonderful celebratory evening if they were celebrating together, if they were growing together rather than, well, I grew, what about you? Or, well, look at what I did. Wait a minute, what about what I did? It doesn't matter. This is my name, kind of thing. It's this competition, and I think the cooperative model sometimes doesn't get as much attention or play as the competitive model. And I think a lot of people kind of live there sometimes to their own detriment.
Ooh.
I think a key word that you said was intent. And if I'm sure you see this all the time, but if we go into an event like that or a certain situation with the same intent, which is typically what is the reality, when you go into it with the same intent, if you keep that intent in your mind throughout the duration, then your words, the words you say, or even the perceptions that you have of other words being said, if you keep that intent in your mind, then I think that would keep you on the right path to have the outcome that you want.
Yeah. It's an old saying, where focus goes, energy flows kind of thing. So if you focus on celebrating and you're really, really proud of your partner and you just want to make this a beautiful night to remember, and you can kind of subordinate yourself to like, this is so great, babe. Congratulations. This is awesome. I love that you're so successful. But because of the power dynamic, didn't quite go off the way they hoped. But it's one of those things also, she's telling me the story years in the rear view kind of thing, the rear view mirror. So, she didn't know how she was going to feel about it until it came up. He probably didn't know how she was going to feel about it until, those words fumbled out of his mouth. Right. So it's one of those things where people start to process, and now, again, the cost of that is, she takes on a belief that, I can't be successful at work without it affecting my relationship. People don't celebrate my accomplishments. People don't appreciate what I do. Like, it's got a lot of learnings that come from, and we all do, right? That's why I'm sharing these podcasts, right? People take on learnings from, the references that they take from experiences that they had. So, the belief is, your partner doesn't celebrate you, or, I can't be successful at work and at home, so I got to pick one. I don't subscribe to that. So, it's powerful just to say, no, this is true.
Yeah. So just like how she said, well, her husband asked the question, what could you have done better? I think that highlights, even when we do reach a high in one of the categories of our life, women, definitely, we are highlighting what we could have done better. And so, especially to speak to anyone who maybe agrees with that type meme that you can't have this, this, and this, and you can't have it all. You can have it all. You just can't have it all perfect. But if you trade perfection for authenticity in each of those categories, that will all unfold. And I think, Dave, you teach that really well. And I just thought that was ironic that the question was, what can you have done better? But that's the problem, is we're so obsessed with what could we have done better instead of being in that authentic moment with our partner, with our client, with our whatever, ourself, or whatever relationship, we're participating in at that moment. So.
Right. Thank you so much. I'm glad you that's a great point. And I think because she was very much she preferred significance and certainty as her drivers. That was a threatening question. But if you value connection, that's not a threatening question. If you value contribution, that's not a threatening question. If you value, the connection of the two of you have over dinner, just chatting about it, it's probably a good idea to say, wow, tell me what you did great first, because we want to emphasize that. And I think that's where he got off, but again, I think it was probably more in masculine energy. And I think it was also kind of a saboteur thing that happened, because he felt threatened. I don't think he realized what he was doing consciously, but subconsciously he knew very well what he was doing. So, but yeah, it depends on like what's your guiding force and your driving force. What's most important, in our background, we've been to Robin's events, and 6 Human Needs is a big understanding of what drives us. And in this particular episode of the podcast, she isolated that it was very much about certainty. Certainty was her driver. She makes more money than anyone in her family's ever made. And so she takes a lot of significance from that, but those are her drivers, so it's not exactly doing great in her relationship. It makes her feel good based on her background, her early years, when she felt like she was kind of lower middle class, and money and success and certainty were things that she didn't feel like she had a lot of. And so, that's the lesson to take from all these. We're all compensating in some way for something. Most people have no idea what it is, but it drives you decades later. And I just think from the book and the podcast, the lesson is, okay, what is it? Where are you compensating? And what is the belief that leads you to think you have to? And when you understand what that is, that's a tremendously freeing concept. What's driving me? And realizing, here's another revolutionary concept. Just because it was driving you, as soon as you realize what it was and why it was, you can also choose anew. You know, I would say to people, you know, as your coach, the power vested in me. And what is your new choice? What do you really want to do? What do you really want to make your life about? It can be about love and connection. It can be about growth. It can be about service and contribution. You know, it can even be about variety. You know, it doesn't have to just be certainty and significance. One of the big learnings that I think in the Date with Destiny program, I think you probably have all been to, or know a lot of people who have been. I think one of the big secrets from that event is what's driving your life, how is it working, how is it not working, and what do you really want it to be? Because most people who come in there are being driven by certainty and significance. And the problem with those two needs in the driver's seat is it's all based on stuff that's outside of you that you have no control over. You know, if someone speaks disrespectfully to you, if someone doesn't recognize you, if someone doesn't give you something, if you don't get a promotion, if, you know, your partner speaks disrespectfully, if your kids aren't listening to you, those are tremendous hits to your significance. You know, it's because it's all predicated on what other people do. So you have no control over because it's happening outside of you. You could be stuck in a traffic jam with thousands of other people and you're angry and pounding the steering wheel, you know, because you're going to be late. Someone's going to think badly of you and you have no control over it. And you're kind of, you know, seething and upset by the time you get to your meeting. Or, you know, and again, that's a threat to certainty as well, you know, because you take pride on showing up on time. You know, but you can't change a traffic jam when there's an accident, right? And things are happening. Same thing, certainty. Certainty is outside of you. You really have no way of controlling it. The only certainty is I know who I am. I know what I'm committed to. I know how I'm going to show up. I know if I ask a good question, I can change how I'm showing up like that in a moment. And, you know, that's certainty. You know, and also certainty when we were talking about earlier, like everything happens to serve me. I don't always know what it is. Sometimes it doesn't feel pleasant in the moment, but I know it's ultimately going to show me something, teach me something. Any emotion is just a messenger. It's going to leave me better than it found me if I ask a good question and figure it out. You know, so these are powerful things, and that puts certainty back inside of you. So the key, in my opinion, from one of the big keys from Date with Destiny is like just subordinate those things that are driving you down to third or lower. You know, choose two needs that will actually feel good. Again, it could be love and connection. It can be celebrating the connections you have with other people. It can be about growth and just getting a little bit better every day. That's totally sustainable and feels good, and you feel like you're making progress and going forward. And then, or it could be about contribution to other people. It could be about, you know, you get to make the world a better place every single day by just doing one little thing for someone. That's totally sustainable and works and feels good. Or it could be about variety. It could be about, look, I don't need to be perfect about this, but I'm going to try new things. I'm going to learn new stuff. I'm going to go to new places. You know, I'm just not going to be a slave to, and it's kind of ironic. We need certainty and uncertainty. So basically just be willing to go and try new things just because you're interested or just because you're curious, and not feel like, oh, I have to be awesome at it the first time I try it, but to say, you know, I want to go learn about this, or I want to travel to this place, or I want to have this experience. That can create a pretty amazing life, you know, but we just have to figure out what's driving us invisibly and make it visible.
That's so great.
That's so
That
good,
was
Dave.
the best recap I've
Yes.
ever heard. Thank you, Dave.
And so,
John has a great question I wanted to point out. Do you think we outgrow our relationships or make mistakes and get into wrong relationships?
Oh, great question, John. Thank you so much. So again, the premise of the book and the premise of the podcast, the things we're talking about is I don't believe in mistakes. Again, you know, the thing that I'm saying is everyone you meet, everyone you interact with, everyone you have a relationship with is there to teach you something. You know, I'd say that it's not a mistake necessarily, because if it's a mistake, you got to fear it and you got to worry about it and you got to, you know, I say go into it, experience what it is you need to experience. And, you know, sometimes you'll get that lesson and sometimes it's time maybe to move on. Everyone, if you believe that everyone comes into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And look, my belief also is it's sort of a dating karma thing. Like I'll meet people where they are, and your only job isn't to live happily ever after for the rest of your lives together. It's just to meet people where they are, leave them better than you found them. You know, just appreciate them for who they are, compliment them, reflect it back to them, appreciate what they brought to you, try to be the very best human you could be with them. So again, if this whole idea of mistakes again, I think it kind of keeps us in this dynamic of somebody's misbehaving. And I don't necessarily think people misbehave. I think they're trying to meet their needs in sometimes unproductive ways, like saying, well, what's one thing you could have done differently after your promotion? Like, that was an unproductive way to meet their needs. You could say he was misbehaving, but again, you would lose the lesson, I guess. Both of you would. And yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we do outgrow relationships, again, reason or season or a lifetime. Everyone comes into your life in some way. Hopefully the goal is, so how can I just be a better person? How can I be, how can I enjoy life more? How can I figure out what I'm here to learn? How can I grow? How can I contribute? How can I love? How can I connect? How can I leave the world a little bit better than I found it? If that's your driving force, again, then I don't think there are mistakes. I think everyone comes to teach you something. Sometimes it can be painful. And I'm no exception to that rule. I've had my share of challenging ones too. I've had to do this work as well. So and it's kind of wild when the thing that you thought you've totally fixed and gotten on the other side, and you wrote a book about it, and it pops up, and you're like, oh my God, it's here again. And I'm like, it's an epiphany.
We're either growing or dying, right? It
Exactly
never
right.
stops.
I love that. They're here. Everyone comes into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Yeah. So that if that's your belief, then I don't believe there are any failures, to John's point, or mistakes, I should say, mistakes. It's just an opportunity to learn something about yourself, about the world, about them. And I just appreciate these people for the fascinating, unique, and amazing souls they are. Sometimes who came to teach you very painful lessons that you ultimately needed. So if you focus on the mistake or what you did wrong, you probably aren't going to get the lesson, honestly. You'll probably take on the wrong belief.
One of the things you said, yeah. One of the things you said earlier that I loved was, if you learn that lesson, if you take that lesson and have that mindset that you just spoke to, you don't need that lesson anymore. And how great is that, to get to that point with a lesson where you don't need it anymore, because it'll keep coming if you still need it.
Absolutely. I say it again and again. So again, if your belief is, well, I'm here to learn something anyway, might as well get it. Might as well figure out what it is. Might as well, figure out what do I love about this person? What do I love about this experience? What's great about this? How am I going to be even better on the other side of this? How can I hopefully leave them better too? What a different way to go into relationships, rather than, oh my gosh, I can't believe I picked another nut, or I picked another fill in the blank of whatever you believe.
They're all the same, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Lessons will be repeated until I guess you can leave that blank. It's our choice what comes after that.
Wow.
But it always reminds me of that old canard about workplaces. It's the beatings will continue until morale improves. It's like, you might want to take a look at that system. I'm not sure that that's conducive to what you're looking for, right? Beatings don't typically improve morale.
Nope, and we can't punish ourselves to success. So
right,
we just change the order a little.
Some people have no lack of trying, though.
Right?
We've all been there. So we've all made mistakes and learned things, or learned things again and again. So, but again, I just think when you recognize it and say, "Oh, what's this here to teach me? This is awesome." I think that could be empowering too.
Definitely. Wow, Dave. Thank you so much for joining us. We're coming close to the end of this episode, and you dropped some knowledge. And to learn more about Dave Elliott, extraordinaire, relationship coach extraordinaire, I'll add that to the end. You need to add that to the end of your emails. Relationship coach extraordinaire. Visit legendaryloveforlife.com and make sure you go and download his podcast, his new podcast. Just out of curiosity, why did you decide to start a podcast?
That's funny. I have a friend of mine who actually teaches people. I listened to him speak at an event years ago, and he's been talking about it for a long time. I've even sent people to him. I got to be honest, one of the reasons I started doing this is because I was inspired I got into listening to podcasts, and there's a lady named Esther Perel, who is a New York Times bestselling author. She's probably one of the world's top experts on infidelity and people who have affairs. She's got 2 great books, Mating in Captivity and The State of Affairs. She's amazing. And basically what she does is she does essentially live therapy sessions with couples who are not her clients. She's learning about them. So I didn't even think of that as a thing. You know, most people are doing podcasts where they come on and they'll talk about something. And so I didn't even consider the fact that I could actually, you know, kind of take what I do privately and do it publicly. And so that not just one person one-on-one is going to benefit, but hopefully thousands, you know, can transform or get new distinctions, because it's easier to get the lesson when you're talking about someone else. And I hope that people also come away with this great appreciation for this beautiful soul who is like sharing the most intimate details of their lives for no other reason than to maybe learn about it and also share and make a difference for someone else too. So I didn't really consider that I could do it that way. And I just got to tell you, I'm enjoying the process about what I do. I think it's really raw. It's really vulnerable. It's open. And some of these people, they're not known for being raw and vulnerable. And I think it's beautiful. And I hope that, you know, maybe I can create even a little more compassion for other people when you see and hear it from their perspective. And you start to focus on, well, what do I love about this person? What's really great about that? And like, oh my God, I do that. You know, the whole idea of like, is he talking to her or is he talking to me? Because I do that. So I think I'm hoping that it's really just truly transformational. People learn lessons about themselves and also come away with a new appreciation for other people, what they're dealing with and what they've experienced. And so you get a chance to understand other people at a much deeper level. And so I hope that's interesting, and I hope it creates more, you know, love and appreciation and compassion in the world for everybody. So
I think it's
Dave.
also a great way to help people realize they're not alone in their struggles too.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Absolutely.
Huge.
Yeah. Again, it's different. You know, if you're, you know, say if your partner is complaining about an issue, but if you hear someone else who has had a very similar issue and how they see it or they experience it, you know, it's not a thing where like you did something wrong. So you hear it with new ears, essentially. You're like, oh my gosh, I because she said it and she explained it. Gosh, now I know, I understand how that can be. Huh. I probably do that too. I could probably do better in that area. So, you know, that's the thing I'm hoping that people take away from it. It's just, you know, compassion and learning new skills and sharing these things, and understand that people have very good reasons for what they do, what they believe, what they think, what they don't believe. So I'm hoping it's, you know, makes a difference in the world, and I'm enjoying doing it. So hopefully a lot of people will check it out. You know, it's called Why Haven't I Found Love Yet? I'm loving it. So I hope people check it out.
Thank you so much. And to learn more about Dave, his podcast, his books, his private coaching, all the stuff that he's up to, you can go visit legendaryloveforlife.com.
You got it that time. Awesome. We said you were going to get it.
I knew
Yep.
I was going to get it. And remember to like and share this podcast with the hashtag Force for Growth for your chance to win Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich or the Medical Medium book. One of these will be sent to your house directly from us, courtesy of the Force for Growth show.
And what options do folks have to go run and buy a copy of your book?
Oh, my book is on Amazon around the world, and there's a workbook if people choose to do that, just to sort of do the exercises and stuff. Pretty much
So I highly
Amazon,
encourage.
yeah, wherever Amazon is, you can get it mostly. So awesome, thank you.
And real quick, got to give a shout out to Jesse. Dave, always dropping knowledge bombs. Love it. Thank you for
Jesse.
sharing your passion with us, Dave.
Oh, thank you. I miss you all. I'm hoping I get back to Dallas again soon. I was down there a couple of times last year, but
I
I
know.
haven't been this year for some reason. I'm not sure
I
why.
know. We got to figure that
Traveling
part out.
this much. Yeah.
I got a little spoiled because after I met Dave, I was able to see him roughly about every couple of months, about once a quarter or so.
Yeah.
At least 3 times a year here in Dallas, in my own hometown. We would have breakfast. We go hang out. He would come to a couple of our meetings, and I was like, and then all of a sudden this year, like I haven't seen you in person at all.
Yeah, I haven't been back. It was cool. I had a client of mine who got married down there. So I came to the wedding, and that was awesome. And then I came down for Unleash the Power Within event, and I came down to speak at your event. So basically, there were a lot of things happening that kept bringing me back to Dallas for some reason. So I got a chance to make a bunch of amazing friends and deepen the friendships I already had. So it was awesome.
And we're looking forward to seeing you in person next time you come down. Coffee, breakfast, something.
I know a place. Sure. We'll do it.
Let's do it.
We know a few backups too.
We do.
Awesome. That sounds good.
Well,
thank you so much for joining us. I'll go ahead, Courtney.
Oh, well, I just want to throw out that there are two very pivotal lessons that I've learned. One from that workshop where you did come to speak at our event and you walked us through the heart exercise. And then another when we're both crewing UPW Dallas last summer, and I walked by, and it's funny because now knowing you don't remember the full thing, because I walked by and I was like, hey, yeah, that heart exercise, I loved that. That just changed. And you were like, oh, okay, I'd love to hear more about that. And so I just thought it was kind of passing. And it's like 11 p.m. on like Saturday or Friday night of UPW. We're waiting on something. It definitely wasn't the Firewalker night. But I remember you walked by and you're like, hey, you got a few minutes? I would love to hear more. And I just started like, I don't know. I guess I was ready for a breakthrough. But let's say we talked about a lot more than just the heart exercise. But you really guided me through. And the summary of that conversation, I called it an intervention with myself. But basically, you really illustrated, no, you're not this story. You've just gotten very good at mimicking it your entire life. And I believe you asked me, you were like, so what's your new choice? And I'm like, well, and so it was just a very powerful conversation. So just, yeah, any type of Dave content you can absorb. I personally really want to push you to do it, because whether you're single, whether you're married for 50 years, whether you're just in chronic bad relationships, anyone can benefit from his material. So.
And the heart exercise you're referring to is in his book, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's in the work. It's in the actual book, right?
Oh, yeah,
I know
definitely.
The workbook goes into a lot more depth on many exercises.
Yeah, the workbook was really just a way. It's called companion piece because it's a companion piece to the other book, and it's companion piece, PEACE, because that's really what we're after: companion period, piece period. Right. So the ability to have a companionship with a partner, and you're kind of just moving through life. And thank you so much for reminding me of the details. As you say that, now I do remember. So it's one of those things where, when I'm there, and thank you for the acknowledgement. It's long days, 16, 17-hour days again and again for 4 or 5 days in a row, and some training beforehand. But, I'm really just, I love to, serve and make a difference and meet people where they are. And I love to hear about, where they are. So I'm really delighted and honored that you got so much from it. So thank you.
Yes. Well, you're a great example of just serving authentically and being in the moment. And the sign behind Michelle's head, be where your feet are. That's exactly what you represent. So thank you.
I told you guys at the beginning, Dave's just good people. He's just good people.
Yeah.
No better way to describe Dave, just in general. He's just a good people.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dave. And we'll be back on Monday with what, guys? What's on Monday?
The word of the week.
Hold on. Let me try something right quick. Let me look at Michelle. And then
It's like the Brady Bunch. If I might be dating myself.
Oh, this is fun. Now we need a Brady Bunch intro. Hey.
Thank you, guys. We'll be back on Monday with the word of the week. Remember to visit forceforgrowth.com for all the information on how to subscribe to our podcast, YouTube channel, and everything else. And we'll be linking back to Dave's podcast from our page. Thank you, guys. And we'll see you guys on Monday.
Bye.
I'm coming back. This was fun.
This was great.
We'll have you back.
For coming.
For sure. Bye, everybody.